Okay, so last week we worked on solving one and two step equations. This week we're going to solve multi-step equations. So your objective for today is that you will be able to solve multi-step equations. So first we're going to go over some of the steps that we can follow. So the first thing is to always, if you can, always distribute. So if there's any parentheses like this, always distribute first. Then we're going to combine any like terms that are on the same side of the equation. So if we have like 2x minus 3x equals 5 plus 7, on this side we can combine these like terms. 2 minus 3 is negative x. And on this side we can do our 5 plus 7, which is 12. Then you're going to add or subtract. We want to get all variables to one side of the equation and all constants to the other. Then you multiply or divide to get your variables alone. And important, if you want to make sure you're right, especially on tests and quizzes, you can always plug your answers back in to check your work. So we're going to go through some examples. So the first one is negative 12x minus 5 plus 8x plus 7 equals 26. So the first thing was to distribute. I don't see any parentheses, so we can't do that. Next, we want to combine like terms on the same side of the equation. So this is what we've been working on like last week. So negative 12x and 8x are like terms. So we just combine them. So negative 12 plus 8 gives us negative 4x. And now those are done. Then we have negative 5 plus 7 is plus 2. And just copy everything else down. Next, you add or subtract to get variables to one side and constants to the other. So since this variable is here, I am going to move this 2 to the other side. So to do that, we talked about how we undo addition by subtracting. So we're going to subtract from both sides. So 2 minus 2 is just 0. So we get negative 4x equals 24. And your last step is to multiply or divide to get your variable alone. This is attached by multiplication, so we're going to undo it with division. So we get x equals negative 6. Again, you could plug negative 6 in for every x, and then this side will equal 26. So let's look at another one. First step is always to distribute. So here I do see some parentheses. So we're going to do 2 times 5m gives us 10m, and 2 times 2 is plus 4. But we also have to distribute this negative sign. So negative 1 times 7m is minus 7m. Negative 1 times negative 10 is plus 10. And then copy down your other side. Next step is to combine terms that are on, or like terms that are on the same side. So in this case, we have 10m minus 7m gives us 3m. Then we have 4m, or 4 plus 10 is plus 14 equals negative 10. So on these, you just combine them. So we do what operation is already there. It's when we're moving stuff to the other side of the equal sign that you have to do the opposite sign. So in this case, now we want to get all constants to one side, all variables to the other. So we want to get rid of this 14. So I'm left with 3m equals negative 24, because negative 10 minus 14 gives us negative 24. And your last step is to divide by this 3. So we get that m equals negative 8. Again, you could plug this back in to check your work. But these are pretty much the steps we'll be following every single problem. So here's one where we have variables on both sides. So we have to distribute on both sides in our first step. So in this case, multiply everything by this 3. So we get 9k minus 6 equals, this whole negative 2 gets multiplied in, positive 2k plus 6, and copy down your 3k. Now we want to see if there's any terms on the same side that we can combine. So in this case, we have 2k plus 3k. This gives us 5k, and copy everything else down. Now we want to get all variables to one side and all constants to the other. So in most cases, I personally like to get all my variables to the left side. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to now. So to get this whole 5k to the left side, I need to subtract 5k from both sides. So now that's gone, and I'm left with 4k minus 6 equals 6. So now it looks like our two-step equations. We want to add 6 to both sides. So we're left with 4k equals 12. And as always, our last step is to divide by this 4. So we're left with k equals 3. Now, in some cases, we are going to have something called infinite solutions and no solutions. So we'll go through examples of each of them, but infinite solutions is when all your variables cancel out in your problem, but you're left with a true statement. So like 5 equals 5. Does 5 equal 5? Yes, it does. So that means it's infinite solutions. You could get like 0 equals 0, 2 equals 2, negative 100 equals negative 100. As long as the statement is true and both sides do equal each other, you will get infinite solutions. No solution is pretty similar in the fact that all your variables cancel out, but now you're left with a false statement, so something that doesn't equal each other. So like 5 equals negative 2 or 0 equals 6. That will never be true. So this means like whatever value you plug in for your variable, both sides will never equal each other. So let's do an example. So of course, we're just going to start solving this like a regular equation. So we're going to distribute our 2. We get negative 6n plus 10 equals 1 minus 6n. So now we want to get all of our variables to one side and all of our constants to the other. Again, I'm going to try to move my variables to the left. So I'm going to add 6n. Over here, negative 6n plus 6n is 0. But wait, on the left side too, negative 6n plus 6n is 0. So they both just cancel out, and we're left with 10 equals 1. 10 never equals 1. So this is where we get no solution. Or you can write it as a 0 with a slash through it. That means no solution. Now, some people might have tried to move their constants first. So you might have had 0 equals negative 9. And that's the same exact thing, still no solution because 0 does not equal negative 9. Now in this problem, we have to distribute twice. Multiply this 2 and we get 12n minus 10. Copy the 5 down. Then multiply the whole negative 3, we get 12n minus 15. So now this time I'm going to move my constants first. So first I'm going to combine this like term. So we have 12n minus 15 equals 12n minus 15. I'm going to move my 15 to the right side. So I'm going to add 15. And wait, that cancels out. That's an n. So we get 12n equals 12n. And if we try to move them together, we're left with 0 equals 0. 0 always equals 0. If you didn't move this first, you could have been left with negative 15 equals negative 15, which is also a true statement. So our answer is infinite solutions. So this means that whatever you plug in for n, I could plug in 1 and both sides will equal each other. I could plug in negative 102 and both sides will equal each other because it's infinite solutions. So tomorrow in class, we're going to practice multi-step equations and solving them. So come to class with any questions you have.